Welcome back, everyone. Today, we are diving into an explainer of a truly fascinating masterclass, originally presented by Impact Church, led by Bishop Rasby G. Mason and Pastor Jacqueline Mason. It's called the Endcap, Defeating the Enemies of Effective Prayer. And to help us visualize exactly how they believe our spiritual lives operate, they use this vibrant, everyday metaphor that you'll instantly recognize. So stick with me, because today we're walking through a story. It's a story about a massive promise, a sudden disruption, and exactly how to get things flowing again. To really get the premise of this explainer, I want you to picture this. You walk into your favorite grocery store. You've got your list, right? You know exactly what you're there to get. But right at the end of the aisle, bam, there's this bright, beautifully arranged display, an end cap. Now, it wasn't on your list, but because it is perfectly packaged, premium, and placed literally right in your path, it catches your eye. You instantly realize, oh man, I absolutely cannot leave the store without this. And honestly, that brilliantly illustrates the whole goal of today's source material. According to the masterclass, we aren't just looking at a standard summary here. We're pulling what they consider the most premium, high-value truth right off the display shelf. It's presented as the exact tool you didn't even know you needed, designed for you to use right now. Section 1. The Disrupted Pipeline. When the channel is blocked. You know, every good story has a conflict, right? Well, the core problem this masterclass addresses is what exactly happens when the promise of answered prayer seems to fail. Like, what do you do when you are doing everything you think you should be doing, but you just hit a brick wall? The source material frames this perfectly as a disrupted pipeline. They anchor their entire premise on Matthew chapter 7, verse 7. Everyone that asketh, receiveth. Notice the absolute nature of that text. Every one. The source points out that because this promise is rock solid, an unanswered prayer is literally never a failure of the promise itself. So, if the promise isn't broken, what on earth is? To explain this, they use a highly visual metaphor. Think of the source as a massive, infinite city water reservoir. The source is absolutely never the issue. I mean, it never runs dry. But then you have the channel. That's the pipeline that actually carries the water to your house. The masterclass explains that unanswered prayer is simply a disruption in this pipeline. It's like a plumbing issue. The water supply isn't broken, but the channel has blockages. And getting the supply flowing again, well, that requires identifying those exact blockages. Which brings us to Section 2, the villains, prayerlessness and passivity. Look, if you want a smooth flowing pipeline, you have to defeat the things clogging it up, right? The source material identifies two specific enemies that kind of sneak into our daily routines and severely disrupt access to the source. Enemy number 1 is prayerlessness, which they call the enemy of access. Looking at James chapter 4, verse 2, ye have not because ye ask not, the masterclass issues this stark warning. Prayerlessness is never just a neutral state. Actually, every single day that goes by without prayer leaves your territory completely uncovered. It literally gives the enemy room to operate. And this is where the explainer gets into the real details. The source digs into the original Greek translation of the word ask. The word is Aiteo. Now, this doesn't mean casually dropping a request into a suggestion box. Not at all. It means to beg or crave urgently. The masterclass paints this incredibly vivid picture. It is exactly like a hungry child calling out to a father who actually has the power to feed them. Defeating the enemy of access requires urgency. It requires craving. It's not just about going through the motions. But hey, maybe you are asking, and your pipeline is still blocked. What then? Well, that brings us to a major hazard, enemy number 2, passivity. The source identifies this as the enemy of pursuit. They point out that the biblical text doesn't just command asking, it specifically commands us to seek. And passivity, it's the exact opposite of seeking. It's sitting back, folding your arms, and just waiting for things to magically resolve themselves. No way. Let's look at the Greek translation for seek to really drive this home. The word is Zeteo. It means seeking in order to find. It implies investigating. It is a posture that absolutely refuses to rest until valuable things are recovered. Think about it. If you've ever lost your keys or your wallet, you don't just sit on the couch and say, well, I sure hope they turn up. No, you tear the house apart. That restless, intense energy, that is Zeteo. That is exactly what is required to push past passivity and keep the channel clear. And that brings us to one of the most powerful, punchy takeaways from the entire masterclass. Check this out. Worry is just meditation without God in the frame. Wow. The source explains that passivity doesn't just stay still, it settles, and then actively morphs into destructive worry. When you stop aggressively seeking the source, your mind doesn't just shut off.
It just starts meditating on your problems. It's a profound shift in perspective, isn't it? Let's move on to Section 3, Clearing the Channel. Grab-and-go action items.
Remember, an Endcap display is designed for you to literally grab an item and use it immediately. Well, the source material provides 2 exact practical steps to fix the plumbing issue and clear your channel. Step 1, build the appointment before the schedule builds itself. They suggest defeating prayerlessness by dedicating a fixed, totally non-negotiable block of time on your calendar to just sit in absolute dependence. Then, step 2, elevate the intensity. The masterclass challenges us to stop being passive, intentionally shift our focus away from worrying, and forcefully cast our attention right back onto the source. As we wrap up this summary, the source leaves us with some direct marching orders. Don't leave this truth just sitting on the shelf. Take it captive and put it right in your spiritual shopping basket. The ultimate goal, echoing Impact Church's own motto, is that by clearing our own pipelines, we are empowered to impact the world one person at a time, building a massive culture of love and grace. Think about it. When your channel is clear, that infinite supply flows right through you to everyone else.
So here we are, we've arrived at the end of our aisle. The breakthrough outlined in this masterclass really belongs to the learner who keeps asking and keeps seeking. The Endcap is right in front of you, and the tools are clearly laid out. The only question left is, will you leave this perfectly packaged truth on the shelf, or will you take it with you and clear your channel today? Grab it, live it, and keep learning. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.